You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the panic room for a Thursday night. You might be sitting there thinking, well, where's our man Deadly? This is Deadly's show and Deadly's creation, but he can't join us tonight. So we've got the fill-ins again, Flanders. We're being given the green vest to jump in and sub for the great man Deadly, and you and I to talk us through the teams and what that means for SuperCoach for round 21. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, mate. How about you?
I'm good. Thanks for jumping in for me. First of all, last night I had a chaotic day at work yesterday and just didn't get a chance to think anything SuperCoach yesterday, and so only fair that I could jump in and support the boys tonight on a different show that is usually someone else.
That's all right, mate. You and I, it's something I've done before, I think, and I think you have before, but I have no doubt we'll be able to piece it together and do it some form of justice.
Absolutely. So hopefully out there you've had a look at the teams. We'll go through them like we normally do. We'll talk through all the SuperCoach relevant ins and outs, and potentially maybe who we think might get the sub vest. Even give a stab at that, even though we've probably got no idea, and maybe even for some of the squads on Sunday who we think might get the short list and who might be out before we worry about it. So let's start with tonight, bros. We've got the blockbuster Hawthorn and Collingwood at the MCG tonight, and these teams have been out for 24 hours now, so people have seen them. But CJ and Bruce in, and Will Day and Morrison out for the Hawks, with Frampton, Howe and Mitchell back, so plenty of experience for the Pies, and Dean Markov and Bobby Hill are the three outs for the Pies tonight. Having a look through this list, mate.
Screen there for me, mate. Do you want to know the biggest shot that's on my screen there? It says 5:30 because I forget you're in WA.
Yeah. So, sorry for those at home. I'm in WA, so it says 5:30 kickoff, and people might be panicking. Don't fear. It's a 7:30 start, but it's 5:30 for me. It's actually one of those things. Just on a slight tangent, Broads, when you get used to this time zone, it's really different watching footy early and the games finish early and stuff like that. And when I first moved over here, I thought, I don't know if I'll ever get used to this, and now I love it. It's actually really good. But anyway, we'll move on. So the Hawks and the Pies, pretty stable teams here. They're both, Hawks probably need a win out of the last three to make the 8, maybe even 2. And Pies in danger of missing the top 4. So there's plenty of riding on tonight's game.
So much is riding on the game. Collingwood, lost 3 of the last 4. They only got the 1 win there. And and Hawthorn are at the bottom end of that table as well. So I think this is going to be a sort of a lot on stake here for the loser. You've got to win if you're Hawthorn to keep finals alive, and for Collingwood, you can't lose this form going into the back end of the year. You've just got to stay in form. So
you can't miss that advantage, can you? And there's still time. It's still a couple of weeks to go. But just looking at that bench there, mate, who are we forecasting maybe as the subs? It'll come out shortly, so we won't even have to guess. I'm
going to forecast you, mate. I'm going to forecast you, Luke Bruce and Ned Long.
There you go. I would have probably
a big shocker.
I was going to say I would have probably got Luke Bruce right because he tends to be starting sub, and that one's not a big surprise. But Ned Long, with Mitchell back, it makes some sense, I guess. Those two probably play the same role. So maybe Mitchell just gets first crack. Ned Long hasn't been in brilliant form, and then see what happens when they pull the trigger on that.
They have Jeremy Howe listed on bowl, which is just absolutely astonishing. No,
it's half of these team sheets is just taking the P155, aren't they? Really, it's quite ridiculous.
Anyway, I love it.
Yeah, who do you reckon? Who you tipping before we move on?
I think I'm going to back in Hawthorn on this one. I reckon it'll be tight, but I reckon they've sort of got a bit between their teeth and they know what they've got to fight for. They're fighting for their chance in finals. Collingwood are just fighting for their spot within finals. So I think Hawthorn are going to come out here and put a good game together.
Look, they have a good record. They have a good record against the Pies too. I know that my better half is a bit nervous about this one because the Hawks tend to match up really well against the Pies. I remember Gather Round a couple of years ago, and they got hold of him, and Hardwick kicked 5, even though he's now in the back line. So, yeah, I think I'm with you. I think the Hawks can get this one done.
Real night
We'll
for
see
you,
how
mate.
that plays out. It is what it is. When Hawthorn play Collingwood and teams like this, it's sort of an equal. They're equal on the scale of dislike for me. So, probably if I'm honest, I hate Hawthorn a little bit more than Collingwood. So probably won't mind if the Pies get up, but not a big difference. I don't like either of them very much. So. Into tomorrow night, which this will be really ugly. Dangerfield gets a rest and Mitch Nevitt is back. So that might be good news for some who maybe have him on the bench and needed a loop or something. And for Essendon, I haven't had a chance to look at Essendon Twitter, but I'm sure they're really happy with Jai Menzies being back. He's Essendon's favourite whipping boy, and Oscar Smart omitted, who was the starting sub for the last couple of weeks anyway. This could get really ugly.
Yeah, considering the only change is Patrick Dangerfield out, it's got bloodbath written all over it, especially down at Alphabet Stadium. Like, this could be a bloodbath, mate. Like if they had made some more moves here, they could have managed Smith, which again, he's still every chance of a laid out. Same with Tom Stewart. If they had dropped a fair few more, I'd expect sort of a bit more of a probably only 60 points, but there's every chance of 80 plus going on here. Just the Cats just haven't taken the foot off the throat when they've had these big leads.
Nah, and Essendon never match up against Geelong. Even when we weren't that bad, we still got absolutely pantsed by Geelong every time. So I'm not looking forward to watching this one. And I think if you go by the bookie markets, and Lockie Bramble responsibly, everyone out there, the markets are actually just all a bit of Harlem Globetrotter stuff. There's markets about Jeremy Cameron outscoring Essendon, and will Jeremy Cameron and Shannon Neal kick 15 combined, and all these kind of fun things that, you just look at that and go, my goodness, we're not even betting on normal disposals and goal kicking now. We're betting on these kind of luxury things, but I wouldn't put it past either of those two things from getting up, mind you. So it's an interesting one. Let's move past this one, though. I think the main thing for this is the VC is in play big time. So if you don't fancy anyone in the Collingwood Hawthorn game, I think a Max Holmes is a brilliant VC, a Baz Smith is a brilliant VC, and if you've got Jeremy Cameron, I think that is the best VC of the week.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, I don't mind that call. I'm going Max Holmes this week. I've got the option of Bailey Smith or Max Holmes, and I reckon Max is just going to run an absolute muck. And I pray for all of us Zach Merritt owners out there, because he's going to have the Ocean hanging out all over him.
Yeah, you would think so, wouldn't you? Ocean will probably follow Zach around, which isn't much fun. But it's one of those ones that with the injuries that have hit, and people had Lockie Neal, or they used their trades last week to move on some other injuries, you probably don't have the trades left to move on a luxury like Zach Merritt. If you do, it wouldn't be a bad move. But yeah, I don't know that many people have got those luxury trades in the back pocket anymore.
No, definitely not.
I won't even ask you for a tip because that would be a stupid question. Let's move into Saturday and the Tigers versus the Saints. And for Richmond, we've got Tim Taranto back after a few weeks off. Tom Lynch is back after a long time out, 6 weeks or whatever he had. And Nathan Broad back to strengthen that defence. Sims, Fall and Trainer are the three outs. And for the Saints, good to see Matthias Philippou back for his first game in a while. Darcy Wilson comes back, who it's perplexing to me how he's not a permanent in this team. He's got a lot of speed, a lot of promise. I really like him. So maybe they're trying to work with him. You never know what's going on internally. They might be trying to get him to work on a defensive part of his game or something like that. But I think he will be a regular in the future. So good to see him back. And Liam Henry provides a bit of X factor. And unfortunately, Mitch Owens injured last week. He'll be a loss. Ryan Burns injured and Hasty omitted. What are your thoughts on this one, mate? What's the super coach kind of angle for this? Again, probably we would expect a bit of a dead rubber game, but what about from a super coach point of view?
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be very much along those lines there. There's not really a great deal that's going to impact the guys we're owning here. I'd expect Jack Steele to get a start again. after being sub last week, so I wouldn't expect that to be a trend that continues. I think that's going to help Jack McRae. I think not having his mate, his other Jack in there, no two Jacks, they need him in there to help him. So
yeah, I agree with that. Look,
I think
Zach Jones might be the sub candidate. You would think in that bench if they go from the bench anyway.
Yeah, I think as disappointing as it sounds, Darcy Wilson's probably a chance to cop that vest too. If he's been dropped to the twos, he's probably just as much of a chance to cop the vest coming back in. So
not a bad call. Not a bad call. What about the
that,
Tigers?
There's nothing of great real relevance here. They're just managing Luke Trainer here. Thomas Sims didn't really do anything with that forward line when he had it, so Tom Lynch is back anyway. And Tim Taranto is he's back, so just keep an eye on that one there. They haven't really dropped a midfielder with Tim out, so they dropped Jonty Fall. Like, dropped two key forwards and a key back.
Yeah,
they brought in a key back, a key forward, and a midfielder. So just interesting to see what their rotation looks like more for the coming years, but nothing relevant this year.
Good call. And I think there's a bit of news during the week that they might have put the other young bloke on ice for the year. He just hasn't been able to get his body right. What's the young bloke, the contested possession Richmond guy? His name escapes me for the minute, but I'm sure I'll think of it in it. Smiley is the man.
Smiley. Yeah.
So I think they've put him on ice for the year. So from a super coach point of view, it's not a bad thing because we would expect that he'll be priced as a rookie again next year. If he looks like in the preseason he's going to break into that Tigers midfield, that could be a good one for us just to keep an eye on in the preseason.
Yeah, 2026, here we come.
That's it. Moving on to the Lions versus the Swans, and this would be interesting. Like, Sydney might be a little bit of the team that could cause the odd upset. I think I saw a stat during the week that of the last 30 games where top 9 has played bottom 9, 29 of them have gone to the top 9. So there's only been one upset. And you would expect that trend to probably continue, but maybe one of the bottom 9 who could cause one of the upsets along the way could be the Swans. Whether that's this week against Brisbane, I'm doubtful. At home, I think Brisbane probably get it done, but it is one of the teams that at least are looking like they're in some sort of shape that could test some of the top teams occasionally. For Brisbane, we got Will McLaughlin in. Tom Duday to play his first game for the Lions, which is great to see. Came over from Adelaide and then hurt his knee, so great to see him in for his first run. And out is a big one for owners who maybe don't have a trade left, but Lachie Neale is in a few teams, and so if you do have a trade, obviously you've got to trade him out now. It's confirmed that he's not going to play the rest of the home and away season. So if you have a trade in the bank, this is what it's for. Get Lachie Neale out of your team and bring somebody else in. But if you don't have a trade, this is where you start panicking, and that's why we call this the panic room, mate. And then Ryan Lester injured as well, which hurts the Lions back line. And then for Swans, like for like, Hayden McLean in and Peter Laddams out, so the forward ruck gets swapped over. Probably McLean is ahead of Laddams most of the time, and that's pretty stock standard. What do you think about this one? Anyone you want to talk about in particular for the matchups?
Yeah, I don't mind the idea of a bit more Will and Levi Ashcroft running through the midfield together. They haven't brought in an inside mid for Lachie Neale out, so somebody's going to get a nice bump in CBAs there. Zach Bailey's had a few recently. Jared Berry's somebody interesting this week who could get a run with role. He's done it in previous seasons. He hasn't done it of recent, but with nobody else coming in, it's sort of got to be either, I'd be thinking, Levi, or it's got to be Jared Berry to patch up those numbers. I can't see them giving Zach Bailey more than 50% CBAs. It just doesn't make sense to me.
No, and they might do it a little bit by committee. They might go a bit of Zach Bailey, bit of Cam Rayner, bit of Levi Ashcroft, maybe just bump them up a little bit and do that by committee. Interestingly, again, we haven't seen it every week, and the tag coming from the Swans is we could set our watch by it. It was every week we had Jordan there, but he hasn't done it as much this year. But do you think with Neale out that he might go maybe to the suitcase, for example? Maybe they try to nullify him, which teams might try to do now on the run home where there's Neil missing?
I don't think we're going to see a James Jordan tag. I'd be pretty confident on that one there that he's going to be just rock up and do his thing. They sort of accept where they're at now, and I think they're going to try to see if James can make his name as a forward 50 guy. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't tag the rest of the year. Brisbane, Geelong, and then West Coast. Like maybe he might get something next week with Max Holmes or Bailey Smith. But this week, I think he's a great matchup for Neil, and he did a really good job on Neil earlier on in the year. But if not, Hugh's the only real guy you go to, and Hugh doesn't play the same way Lockie Neal does. He doesn't play the same way those conventional mids do. So it'd be a very different task.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'd be interesting, though, just to keep an eye on what teams do with Hugh now, because when you've got, and we saw earlier in the year, teams went to Lockie Neal. Neal was happy to sacrifice his role for the team. If they go to McCluggage without Neal there, what does that do to the domino effect? I mean, Brisbane have got a stack of midfielders, so I wouldn't expect it's going to cripple them, but it is just something from a Supercoach point of view. We don't necessarily want our guns being run with, so just one to keep an eye on. The other interesting one in this game is Zorko, whose minutes have been really managed in the last few weeks. Hurt his foot in, I think it was 3 weeks ago. I don't think Swans are the type of team that are going to let him just run riot and distribute out of the back half. So even if, it wouldn't surprise me, for example, even if Jordan kept him a little bit accountable and not Hugh McCluggage. And then, so owners of Zorko, and I'm one of them, every week is you're just closing your eyes and hoping he stumbles his way to 100 at the moment, but with no trades left, can't really do anything about it. You just got to hope it happens.
I could see a bit of a Guelphy role here, just that, accountability on him on turnover. He'll be accountable to run up the field and transition. So I could see a bit of that going on there. James Rowbottom as well. He's done that role previously. If he's not running through the midfield in his time that he's not there, he could do the same sort of role. They have two guys stuck on that half forward line that can do that same role.
Yeah. And earlier in the year, we saw Braden Campbell do it as well. So they have got plenty of blokes who can do that. We'll see if they decide to employ it. I think either way, even if it's not necessarily a hard tag, I think it definitely will be stop Zorko from being the free distributor. You don't want to let him run through the middle and give him the corridor. So they'll try to stop that for sure. I guess the question in this game is, do Brodie Grundy owners just keep riding this wave and go with the VC or C?
Yep. If you've got Grundy there, I would not move an armband off him. I don't care which armband he has. He's getting one of them. VC or C, it just depends on when he plays.
Yeah, fair call. And I think, Brisbane, they don't have great rucks from a point of view of stopping the opposition. Oscar McInerney, when he was in his prime, could be limiting to an extent, but he's not even there. So, against Darcy Fort, the matchups just keep rolling on for Brodie Grundy. It's perfect.
Yeah, he's got a great run.
He does. Now, your man, Flanders, is not in. What happened to him, mate? I didn't even know he was injured. Do you have any information here? What's happened to our man, Sam Flanders, who's out for Matt Roses in the Gold Coast team?
Yeah, my hamstring's feeling a little bit tight, so I thought I'd take the weekend off. No, this is actually the first I've heard of it. I hadn't heard any rumors coming into this weekend, so it's interesting to see that he's injured. There's nothing notable by the sounds of it, so I'd expect him to be coming back there. But I think if anything, it probably proves his expendability as well. It's obviously not a big injury, but he's not a need for us. Which he was filling a lot of patches last year. He was just filling high Supercoach scoring areas for us, which was good last year. As a Gold Coast supporter, I didn't really like what he did compared to what he was being rated for Supercoach for. He just had great Supercoach roles last year. Malcolm Roses Jr. in is great. Yeah,
and he might well beef up maybe his trade stocks. I think there's plenty of clubs looking at him as a potential small forward. And ladies and gentlemen, I haven't purposefully missed Carlton there. I will come back and we will talk about Carlton because they are playing in this game. I just wanted to go, given the namesake of Flanders, I wanted to start there to see if we had any more because it was a bit of a surprise to me as well that he was out. So we just started with that. But on the Carlton front, it is a really interesting one. So we've got Billy Wilson in and Hudson O'Keefe in, but Mark Pitnet out. So it means TDK solo rucking, I assume.
Shitnet is gone.
Yes. So those who have, I guess, been frustrated through the last 4 weeks of TDK playing forward, and we know he can't really play that role very well and getting 60s and 70s, there might be some light at the end of that tunnel, and you might get a week or 2 or 3 of TDK in the ruck solo. And this week will be tough because it's still Jared Witts, regardless of whether he's solo or not. It's going to be a tough matchup. But Carlton in round 24 do have Essendon and potentially a Goldstein or Vigo. And so you'd be praying that if you're a TDK owner, that stays for the last 3 weeks and you get the benefit of a grand final SuperCoach matchup with TDK against Goldie, and he all of a sudden might win you a league that you were thinking he was going to be your Achilles heel. So it is big news in the SuperCoach world.
I made the bold call on last night's podcast, and if somebody's got the trades and they're wanting to do it, something like a Shea Bolton over to Tom de Koning, who is sub 400 grand at the moment. If you are confident he's going to keep that role, I could buy back into it. His CBA numbers were just cooked. His best CBA numbers with Pitnet in the side was 46%, and he only had 2 games over 40, and one of them was 40. Everything else has been low of 76. So I could really, really get behind it if you are willing to back it in for the year.
Yeah. I think it's a good gamble. Like I said, especially the round 24 matchup is very juicy. If he's solo ruck against the Bombers, that's a really beautiful one for the grand final. Just a quick one. Do we expect that Cooper Lord will tag like he did last week? He went to Sarong last week. Do we expect he goes to Matt Rowell or Noah Anderson?
He's not going to be able to stop what Matt Rowell does, and Noah Anderson plays a different role to what Sarong does. So I wouldn't actually expect to see a tag coming out of this. I'd be more inclined to see maybe a George Hewitt being more accountable for Matt Rowell. Hewitt's done those sort of roles in the past, and it's probably more a better matchup for it, because I think Sarong's not used to getting the tag, and Matt Rowell will just run through him. Sarong won't run through somebody. Matt Rowell will just run and shake it off. So I think really get behind that.
I think the Hewitt call is a really good one. If I think about when Essendon played Gold Coast, they used Setterfield as the bloke on Rowell, and what we saw was Rowell didn't get the clearances because Setterfield played behind him, pushed him into stoppage, made sure he couldn't get the clearances. Now, Rowell still got, I think it was 18 tackles or something silly in that game. So it wasn't that he had no impact, but what Setterfield was able to do was just ring fence him almost. And Hewitt strikes me as the type that could do a similar thing, could play behind him at the stoppage, make sure he doesn't get that, at least stop the 2 possessions in the chains and stuff like that. If he gets his hands on it, okay. But if he gets it, you tackle him, right? Hewitt's a good tackler. I think that's the kind of role they'd probably go with on a Matt Rowell.
Yeah, I think from a SuperCoach point of view, it's probably not a bad thing, though, because we're just going to be looking at repeat stoppages here. And Matt Rowell has just been a contested beast. We had to look at his numbers in the numbers game podcast for the members. So shout out to everybody in the Patreon. We do that week in, week out for everybody, where we go through the numbers on every player. And Matt Rowell was one of the guys this week, and his numbers are huge. And there's a lovely correlation line for him in contested possessions. So repeat stoppages, I wouldn't be sad to see about that.
And we know that that's Carlton's Onewood, so they're not going to play a different way. They got Cripps and Hewitt and these guys in the middle as well. So it probably will be that way inclined, and maybe the little Lockie Bramble responsibly might be in tackles again in a Carlton game, which we went with last week, and maybe this week we can butter up again. But look, do you think your boys just get the job done? They can't afford to drop this one, can they?
No. I think we've got to get this one. If not, we're going to be pretenders. And I think we're trying to shake that tag this year. And we're well in some people's projected final ladder of being a top 4. And as a Gold Coast fan, I can see us shitting the bed week 1, so I wouldn't mind having a double chance.
Yeah, double chance wouldn't be too bad at all. I agree. And just a small shout out to our great friend Michael Voss. He's been announced that they had a 5-hour board meeting last night and have secured his role for 2026. So well done, Vossi. That's good positive news for every supporter, I think. We'd love to see Carlton where they are at the moment. So it's good.
Imagine rocking up for a 5 p.m. meeting that goes for 5 hours to still not sack him.
Exactly. Great work. Anyway, I did see some beautiful memes with Carlton board members looking like the Muppet Show. It was really funny. So I love that. Anyway, I need to stop. I need to stop getting all of my pleasure out of Carlton losing and worry about my own mob who are just absolute junk. So let's move on to Port Adelaide and Fremantle. Another big SuperCoach name here in the ins. So for those who have Connor Rozee, he's back this week after sickness. Willie Rioli back, Moraes and Lukosius, and out for Port Adelaide, Williams, Whitlock omitted, Jackson omitted, and Burgoyne injured. So Burgoyne's one who would be in that team. I don't love seeing a young kid like Jack Whitlock in for one and then out straight away. That irks me a little bit. I mean, they've got nothing to play for. I'm not close enough to Port Adelaide and I didn't see their game closely last week to know whether he's just not ready. So maybe he just needs more development in the twos, but I would have loved to see him get a couple of games now with the season done. And over on the Freo side, the captain is back, Alex Pearce. I think he's captain, isn't he? Yeah, I think he still might be.
Yeah, still the captain.
Yeah, and ex-captain Nat Fyfe, probably the super sub. He'll take up the role of super sub for the next few weeks. And Oscar McDonald omitted, and unfortunately Hayden Young with that injury that they said, it's just minor, but minor adductor or groin after the injuries he's had sounds scary to me. So we do hope he gets back, but I wouldn't be banking on it very quickly. Hopefully he can get back for the finals, but he's a huge out for Freo. What do we expect to see in this one, mate?
I think this will be a really, really good matchup. These are two sides that I feel probably outside of the derby for the derby for Freo and then Adelaide for Port. I think this is probably two teams that just hate each other and love playing against each other. And this is going to be a ripping matchup there. You're going to have a great inside mid battle. You've got the likes of Butters. Hopefully they roll Sarong back through there, Wines and Drew. You got, Sarong, Brayshaw. This has got just Showtime written all over it for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, this has got Butters bounce back written all over it for me. Port, he got smashed by Ocean last week, and Freo don't really have. They've got Wagner who's done a bit of tagging, but good luck. I think if they try to run Wagner with him, Butters will be okay with that. I don't think it's going to be as hard for him to get off the leash against a Wagner as it would be against an Ocean Mullen last week. That kind of thing. So I think owners of Butters should expect a bit of a bounce back game. Huge watch on Connor Rozee. We've all been talking about his hand for a couple of weeks now. And yes, he was out with illness last week, but I can't help but think his hand is still stuffed and it's not going to take much, one smother or one knock or something, and he's going to be in some trouble. So just a watch on that. If you can do something, and it's hard at this time of year with no one, no one on your benches, but if you can somehow find a way to loop via the Rozee spot, whether that's mid or defence, depending on where you're playing him, I think it wouldn't be a bad move. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd be in the same way. It's two things here. He's a high sub chance to be subbed off, but he's also a high chance to just not attack the ball the same way he has been. Because if he's going to try and manage that hand to get full games out of it, you might see a massive drop-off from him, which arguably I don't know what's worse. Would you rather him out there scoring 45s for you but playing, the whole game? Or would you rather him just going out there playing till it doesn't play and then you got no one for grand final week?
Yeah.
What's worse?
Agree. And I think the thing with those who have got your 23 primos plus McCarthy, I think this is the chance to take advantage of that. It hasn't really been a big advantage so far because McCarthy's been getting your 95 pluses every week. But this is the chance where, this being a Saturday night, you could probably put a Rozee on your midfield bench or your defence bench. You can then have McCarthy on the field, and you can see if Rozee gets you the 100 or 110, you whack one of the rookies on that's not playing. Hopefully you got one that's playing on Sunday, and you can take advantage. And those that have the 22 plus can't do that. So you've got at least a little bit of flexibility. And if Rosie stinks, you don't have to take his score. So I think that's the way I'd be playing it. For me, I don't have Rosie, so it doesn't impact me so much. But I think it is one that if I did have him, I'd be looking to definitely loop if I could, because it's got risk written all over it for mine.
I agree, mate.
What about who's going to be the subs? Well, I think Fife speaks for himself. I think he'll be sub, won't he, for Freo?
Yeah, I think he's going to be the sub there. I can probably see maybe Christian Moraes, yeah, or Lorenz. I think it's Moraes or Lorenz for me that'd be flip of the coin. So good to see Manny Liddy's actually holding his spot there as well. So he's done
pretty well since he came in.
Injury history.
Love it. And I love Joe Berry in this team last week, stayed in, like I mentioned with Whitlock. I would have liked to see them keep him in too, but I'm not Ken Hinkley. What is it? He's got 3 games left in his career, so let's see what he does for those 3 games. Then we move into the Sunday games, and we've got squads here, so there's plenty of names. But first up for GWS, Jesse Hogan managed, and we know he's got that foot. It troubled him big time last week, so the chance for him to have a rest. Toby McMullen is injured as well. And out of that list and the squad, the ins are Max Grzuski, Lachlan Keith, James Leake, Jacob Ware, and Toby Green. I would think it's probably Toby Green and one of either Grzuski or Keith to replace the tall forward. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I think if they wanted to go like for like, that'd be the way they go. Toby Green's a shoe-in to be back in for sure. If he's fit and available, you'd be having him back. And I'd probably be more inclined to think we get Keith in, I reckon. I feel he's probably going to back up Ruck a bit better. And with North having Sherry, I think running 2 rucks against him, that'd be the way to go. And they ran Keith earlier in the year when Briggs was down. So 2 rucks versus Sherry is probably the way to go here. So I'd go Keith and Green.
That's a really good call because you're going to need him, and then Riccardi can play the stay-at-home forward, doesn't have to do the backup ruck. I think that's a really good call. That is how I would go too. Let's see what Kingsley does. I love the GWS. How good are GWS socials? Geez, they're bloody good. They put out the tweet just confirming that Adam Kingsley is coach for 2026 as well, taking the P155 out of Carlton.
No 5-hour meeting?
News. No 5-hour meeting. They just put a tweet out. So great stuff by them. And then for North Melbourne, thank goodness we've got the big X back. He's back in the team for this week. He's been causing me to play with 21 for the last 3 weeks, but he's back. So that at least gives me a chance with 22 players this week. And we've got also Geordie Payne. Squiddy mentioned last night that we think he might make his debut. That would be really cool if he gets the nod there. This is a squad, though, mind you. Finbar Maley, Bailey Scott, Will Phillips, and Cooper Trembath are the other ins in the squad. And the 3 that are definitely out are Paul Curtis suspended. He finds different ways of getting suspended, this bloke. It's the second time for the year, and he's out again. Nick Larkey, who you think might not get up again for the year. His knee went again last week, just having lingering issues with that knee. So he's out, which is a huge loss for them. And Zach Banch is injured also. So probably for mine, I'd say Sherry, Geordie Payne, and then maybe a Scott or a Phillips. What do you think?
I'd likely expect Will Phillips could potentially come back in because like the run that GWS have is going to be like elite. So I think having Will Phillips being more accountable on probably a Finn Callahan is something that could pop up there. And Geordie Payne, from the inside word from our man Squiddy, he has it under good authority that we will have a Geordie Payne debut. So
love it. He's not wrong very often about North. If you want to back anyone in, I'll back Squiddy to know what's going on at North. So we will look forward to seeing that debut. Hopefully he goes well. This is going to be GWS need to get back, don't they? I mean, we're not going to really look at this game and say if they win easily that they're back all of a sudden because it's against North. But we need to see something after that terrible effort last week. You would expect a response. You would, yeah.
Squiddy came out and said last night as well that GWS have a elite like turnover, and then once they get the turnover, they run back incredibly well. And that is the one thing that North do not do. So I can see a lot of transition goals here. So if you wanted to back you, I wouldn't mind taking a bit of Finn Callahan anytime goal scorer, Lockie Bramble responsibly on that, everybody. But yeah, that could be something in transition. You're going to find a
Yeah.
lot of holes.
Yeah, you can see the waves happening, can't you? And then
Yep.
the media will be talking about the tsunami all week, and I'll just temper
Oh,
that till we see them against somebody
yuck.
else. But I think we will see it this week for sure.
Yep.
Into the second last game. So Melbourne, who knows what happens with the coach sacking and whether they get a bit of a response. They're going to need one against the Dogs, who are on fire. But Tom Campbell, Jed Adams, and Matthew Jefferson named in, and no outs yet. So that could very well just be the emergencies. So those who have got Max gone and are a little bit nervous, let's not panic yet. I think Tom Campbell's probably just an emergency named in the squad, and we'll get confirmation of that. When do we know? Friday night, I think, about the Sunday teams. So we'll find that out then. And for the Dogs, Davidson, Dolan, and Karmas in again, no outs. So it's just an extended squad. So we'll wait and see what happens. But it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if there are no changes to either team, interestingly.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see the same. I could see them just backing it in. I don't think Melbourne's going to go out here and try, change it all up, come the back end of the year, especially not this week. They've had too eventful of a week to be probably worried about what they're going to do team-wise. I think it's just run what you brung and bring it back out again. And nonetheless, they are still coming off an 83-point victory. And why would you change it if you went up 83 points? I don't care if it's against West Coast. It's still 83-point win. And the Dogs they play really, really well. So a lot of good things there for a few guys. Jed Bustlinger that hung out on the bench for a long time there. That's somebody as well at worst comes to worst. If you're really nervous on Rosie, there's always a loop option there. So,
yeah, I think the captain options are worth mentioning here. I mean, everyone's going to think Bont. Yeah, a Melbourne home game against the Western Bulldogs at Marvel is just one of the shit things about our fixture. I don't see why that happens, but anyway, it is. So we know how good Bont is at Marvel. We probably also might get the chance, if you want to be really spicy here, this could be a Daily Bale special, really. Melbourne against those half-backers historically don't go so well. And so I think this could be one of the big spike games for our man, Daily Bale.
Yeah, Daily Bale went 126 last year, and Bont went 182 in the same game there. Both and that game was at Marvel. So, I reckon you're onto something there, Hurls. I wouldn't mind. If I can see, who was it, Tom coming in for the Ds, I wouldn't mind taking a bit of Bont instead, actually. So,
just look out for if you've got English and they play two rucks, what will that do? And also if you've got Gorn and then they play two rucks, that's also something to consider about captains and vice captains and all that stuff. But I think probably we'll be looking to those midfielders. And we'll get into the last game quickly because we'll open up for some questions before we let people get in and watch the blockbuster, Collingwood and Hawthorn. But again, squads here. So for West Coast, a whole heap of ins. Jack Williams, Matt Flynn, Jack Petruccelli, Jack Graham, Sandy Brock are in, and Tyson Dewar and Harry Edwards are the two outs. So we have to see two of those five who get a run. And for Adelaide, they've done a bit of a switcheroo with the old blokes. So Laird in, Taylor Walker out. So they're getting a chance to manage some of their list, which is good coming into finals. But Laird, Schoenberg, Lachlan Murphy, Burgess, Borlace, and Pedlar are the named ins. Walker managed, Brodie Smith omitted, Braden Cook omitted. So those who have got Luke Pedlar on the bench in their forward line would be hoping to see him make the cut so that you've got an extra body there in the forward line. Is that what you would expect to see there, Broads?
Yeah, if that's all the outs that we're going to see, I reckon we're going to see probably Laird, Pedlar, and probably a Lockie Murphy come in. Chris Burgess, I don't think is going to break into that team. So, yeah.
Nah.
The other two are on the out there. I reckon we're probably going to see a Jack Graham return. And I'd probably be going more of a Sandy Brock return with Harry Edwards out. So
that's like for like for sure. So I think that's exactly. I think that's logical to me, like for like. So
Sandy Brock is on field as well.
Yeah, and Jack Graham in for Dewar makes some sense as well. To he was playing pretty good before he had his 4-week suspension for being an idiot. So yeah, that last game, just are we loading up maybe on a Dawson as captain? Would we risk it, or do you, or are you of the view that you want to be a little cautious with some of these really big potential wins and what they do managing in game with a Dawson, for example?
I don't reckon they'll manage Dawson. Horse has come out with a wonderful point. He's primed for a Brownlow run here. If he's not top 5 by now, he's bloody close. So
Yeah,
I would think if they were to rest him or sub him out or anything like that early, they're idiots. I wouldn't be surprised if they rest him forward to kick a bag. Because if he comes out and has 20 touches and kicks 3, like you couldn't not give it to him at that point there.
Yeah, I think that's the more logical in my mind. I don't think they're subbing him. If I was going to sub anyone in this game from an Adelaide perspective, it'd be someone like a Rankin who's got that history of injury and stuff like that. But I think the management of Dawson would be more likely to be let's go 60-40 mid forward split instead of 70-30 or something similar to that. That's probably what I would expect to happen. But let's be honest, it's not bad standing in the forward line for a bit of a spell against the Eagles, is it? So as a super coach sort of risk, I don't know that it's as big as it would be otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. Not a bad game for this at all. So yeah, it's
right.
Probably small forwards as well. Ben Keys could get off the chain here. Horse will be happy for that. He's had some crap weeks with him. And I think Rankin owners get pretty excited that you could easily get a bag of 4 and have 20 touches here and give you another 130 like you did last week.
Yeah, agree. Good call. So we might get to some questions, Broads, before we finish up and we let people get back to the footy. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me, mate.
If I can find the question time. Here we go.
It's question time. Let's answer your questions for the week ahead.
All right, let's get into some of our questions. Thanks for sending some of these through. So we'll start off here. We've got Higo. Welcome, Higo. Good to see you, buddy. Flanders out due to commitments doing IFS podcast. I don't know if it's the podcast, Higo. I think he's been so busy doing all the data for NBA that he just can't play this week.
Oh, it's just so much on the plate. I've got the normal job. I've got NBA. I've got AFL. Mate, we're just flat out around here.
How good is it though? Like, just on a little tangent to that, like today it was announced we got NFL SuperCoach. We had EPL announced last week. So with all of these different sports, if you are not watching us on IFS, and I don't mean us as in Flanders and I, but the team, there is a great team doing NFL, another great team doing EPL. Just get involved. If you want to beat your mates at any of these sports, you need to be watching IFS. So please subscribe, jump in.
Huge shout out. If you go to X, you can actually see all of our individual accounts and who's looking after what sports. So I'm in for AFL and I'm in for NBA. You can then see which of your favorite creators cross over on those sports, and you can follow the guys that are right and relevant for those. So plenty of guys double up. Horse, Braino, myself, Deadly, plenty of us do.
Absolutely. And I'm just a stalker in the NFL. I don't class myself as an expert, but I love to get involved and listen to those guys. They're geniuses. That's brilliant. Our man Ahmed, wonder if Goodwin will be named in the outs. Should have been. Why not? Why wouldn't we put him in the outs? But it's actually interesting timing, isn't it? After an 80-odd point win, but it's the way it goes. Great to hear here from Burners77. Is TDK a trade-in now that have Bergman sitting on my bench injured with Pitternet out? Is he back to solid? We mentioned this earlier, Burners. I think if you want to take a punt, it's not a bad thing. If you've got a Bergman that has to go anyway, TDK's cheap. You've got to hope that, you've got this week's solo ruck. You just got to hope that he gets the next 2 weeks solo ruck. It's a risk because we don't know if Pitternet will come back, but let's hope that he was omitted. So chances are this is the way they're going to go for the last 3 weeks, Broads.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be backing that in. But the other part is you're only going to make this risk for the last, 3 weeks of the year? It's not like you're trying to do this at mid-year. You're only trying to do it for the last 3 weeks. So I could see it as possible.
Absolutely. The great man, Horse. Love your work, lads. Hopefully you're going okay at the cricket tonight, Horse. And this is the beauty of having crossovers and all the different things. The horse has got cricket commitments tonight, but we can take over. So hopefully doing Deadly and Horse proud in their flagship show. Like, this isn't ours, it's theirs. So hopefully we've done an okay job for the night. And again, Rosita Dawson makes me sick, but it also might make me win. You never worry about that kind of stuff, although I do know where you're coming from. Interestingly, though, Ahmed, and this is just the way I think, and I'm a bit weird, so you maybe take this with a grain of salt. I prefer bringing in, like, for example, I'd prefer bringing in a Carlton player than an Essendon player in Supercoach. As stupid as that sounds, I don't like my own team in my Supercoach team. I don't know what it is. And so even though I hate Carlton a lot, and people know that, I bought in TDK this year. I had Cherra at the start. Having players for them doesn't bother me, but having Merritt in really made me nervous. So, yeah, I don't know. That's just the way I go about it. But
I own Humphrey and Noble, and it scares the shit out of me.
Yeah. And that's all. We haven't got many questions for tonight, but that's not unusual for the panic room. I think nice, short and sharp tonight, mate. We'll let people get out early and watch the footy. Hang on, we have got one. Yeah, we'll try to give people a minute to watch the footy, get their beers ready, sit down at the couch, and enjoy a good game of footy with Collingwood and Hawthorn tonight. So, Flanders, where can the people at home find you?
You can find me on Instagram and on X at SC_Flanders. So come over and have a chat. We'll be doing plenty of AFL content through the end of the year, and then with Supercoach Finals, their new thing coming around, that'll be good. We can have a look at all of that as well. And then NBA content's coming out as well. So if you're into that as well, I'll be doing part of that.
Brilliant, mate. And I won't put the question up on screen. I won't put this question up on screen, but we've got one come through. Newen for Essendon or O'Keefe for Carlton if you were bringing one of the 99k rookies in? Who would you go, mate?
Newen, I reckon he played really well last week, so I reckon he's probably got a chance of playing these last 3 games. How about you?
Yeah, I think he will stay in the team. I don't think he'll be a big scorer. So I said this to a few people early in the week. If you're looking for a 99Ker, I'd either go Newen if you want a warm body, or even find someone who's got no chance of playing, and they might be your loops. But that would depend on who else you've got across the lines and things like that. So I think that's it. Now you can find me on Twitter for the weekend. I'm about to go and have a look at the Essendon Twitter reaction to Jai Menzie being in. That's always entertaining. So I'll go have a listen to that and then watch the footy as well. So hope everyone has a great Supercoach weekend. You keep advancing in your finals. Look out for us on Sunday night for our review show as usual. We'll see everybody then.
See you guys.